مساء الخير. First, just to apologize that I don't speak Arabic, sorry. Thanks for everybody for coming here. Well, as Fadi has said, my name is Germán García. I'm coming from Spain. I'm a social activist, specifically working on alternative currencies since 5 years ago. And basically, why we started to work in Spain about the alternative currencies was at this very same moment that the economic crisis started to hit Europe. I'm quite sure that the most of you are quite aware about what happened there. In Spain, we not as much as in Greece, but we suffered a huge economic crisis that means many people losing their jobs and their houses and so on. So according how was the situation, the social activists were trying to look for different alternatives that, first of all, it requires to have a study about what's the reason behind this crisis. And the very same moment you were having the Arab Spring, we were having the March 15 in Spain, that created a huge gathering of different ideas where many people were throwing different ideas to the same gathering point, and then is when alternatives as the Bank of Time or other kind of currencies, social currencies, appeared. Sorry. After that, with different luck and different success, actually still in Spain we have approximately 200 different social currencies. Once I popped up here in Amman and I meet it again, Fadi, here in Jadal, I thought that this is the kind of space where this kind of debate can be held, and I think that this is the kind of public that maybe is interested to speak. So, first of all, I want to thank Fadi for giving me this opportunity to be here, and all the team of Jadal, and to all of you for coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Germán. So we start with the first point. What is money?
Yeah, before going to how money is created, I think that it's very important that we speak about this concept, because for all of us, money is something absolutely important. It's all over our lives. We need it, and we cannot conceive any kind of society without it. We need it for housing, we need it for food, we need it for achieve or purchase whatever that we need. But going through that, and this is something that we realized when gathering in Spain about that, we realized that really we don't know what money is. Because what money is, there are many philosophies that speak about economics or any kind of politics, and speak about, well, there is more money, there is less money, and how we can solve it. But I don't know if in you know any philosophy that speaks about what money is, really. Well, basically, the money is a tool. It's something that we create to represent the value of an agreement accepted by the parts involved. That's all. But actually, we treat the money as an asset. It is something that can be kept, can be monopolized, and can be used as a tool of power. But when it was created at the beginning, and it could be used by us, not in the future, now, it's a tool that can be created by everybody. This is a problem that we have always speaking with the people, because you can speak with the people that goes to study economy, for example, and you can ask them what money is. Well, they have studied maybe 5 years, and they didn't go through this question. Yes, I invite you to do this exercise, because it's quite funny, and as well it's quite depressed, because that means that something that has so much power above our lives is something that we don't really understand, because we be told about how it works. So once we understand that this is the tool that we use to deal with each other, basically, more or less like the troops, But once making possible that if I cannot change something with Fali directly, I can give him something that represents the value of what I'm giving to him or what he's giving to me. Let's go then, how the money is created. We have a short video, just wait a second, that I took from the Positive Money, that is a movement from the UK, that I think that in 2 minutes specifies very well how the money is created. You can go ahead, please.
The surprising fact is that most of the money in the UK is created.
No,
What
from,
is money?
well, okay.
We need it to buy things. We work hard to earn it. We save it for retirement or a rainy day. We all rely on money.
It's okay.
What is money? We all use money. We need it to buy things. We work hard to earn it. We save it for retirement or a rainy day. We all rely on money. So why don't we know how money works? Why is there sometimes too much of it, making us believe that the good times will never end? Where did all that money come from? And why is there suddenly not enough money around? Why are people struggling to pay their bills? Where did all that money go? The surprising fact is that most of the money in the UK is created by banks. Like a magician, banks make the money appear, seemingly out of nothing, whenever they make loans. But this money is not what it seems. This money is credit and is temporarily on loan from the banks. We use it as money. We believe that it is money. But because it is credit, at some point in the future, it has to be paid back. And when it is paid back, it disappears. This is not a trick. This is how almost all of our money is created and destroyed. So how dependable is this bank-created money that we all rely on? Well, banks make their profits by charging interest on loans. So as long as they're confident in the economy, they want to lend as much as possible. More loans and mortgages means that more money is created. And before you know it, house prices go through the roof. But if they make too many loans, the debt burden becomes too large, so people can't afford to pay them back. So then the banks stop lending, and suddenly there's not enough money. Businesses go bust, people lose their jobs, and houses are repossessed. This is what caused the financial crisis. And fundamentally, nothing has changed since then. Money is still conjured up by the banks, and it still disappears when debt is repaid. Until we change this, we'll never have a stable economy, safe jobs, or affordable housing. But it doesn't have to be this way. Positive money.
Well, basically, as we have seen in the video, just the money is created by the banks from nothing, and if they stop loaning and giving money to us as a loans, we will run out money at the moment that they want. This video of Positive Money, that is an organization from the UK, I can pass the link later if someone is interested of. From my point of view, it specifies very well how it works, except in one point. One thing is, which banks are really producing the money? Which ones are the ones that allow another banks to do so? For that, I took, this is a picture from the moment Occupy Wall Street that I think that describes very well how it works. If it goes, here we go. So in the lowest point, at the bottom of the pyramid, we are the people. And above us, normally, we are dealing with the governments, which are the ones, the states, which are the ones taxing us and limiting how our economical life is. But they are not creating the money. The countries, to get money, they need to ask money to the banks. As the Arab Bank, you have, or Citibank, or the Hashemite Bank, or whatever, the kingdom of Jordan needs to ask money to the banks. That means the power doesn't belong to the country, belongs to the banks. There is something above that. But above that, the normal banks that we are dealing with, like the Arab Bank, for example, they cannot create the money by themselves. They need to ask a permit, or they need to ask the money to someone else. There we have another banks that are the biggest ones. Here the most present one is the Citibank. Those banks are, legally speaking, according to international laws, to create the money from nothing and to give it to the banks. They give it to the banks with certain interest. And those banks give to you or to the kingdom with another interest. But as well, these big banks, they cannot create the money from nothing, except if they are allowed specifically by the central banks. Then we are reaching this level here, where we have the national central banks. Okay, the national central banks, I don't know how works specifically the Hashemite Central Bank, but it's attached to the Federal Reserve in the United States. That's why the Jordanian dinar is more or less always balanced with the dollar, with a very small difference that can change. That means, physically speaking, that all the money that is currently, all the Jordanian dinars that currently are existing, where this money appears and when, is decided by the Federal Reserve. It doesn't have anything to do with your central bank here. Who is deciding about your money is in Washington. And it's this bank. For us, for the Europeans, we have the same, but our central bank is in Europe. For the Chinese, is in Peking, and so on. But one important point regarding the central banks, and all what I'm saying here, you just can go and Google it or go to Wikipedia or whatever, is that there is not political power above those central banks. There is not any government that can decide what the central bank is going to do. Not even the President of the United States, legally speaking, can tell to the Federal Reserve, in this case, what the Federal Reserve has to do. They are totally free, and they are not responsible of anything. Regarding on that, I mean, we have something above the power of any country that is deciding how the economy is going to be, according where they put the money, to whom they are giving the money, and which is the interest that they are using. This is a very important point to decide, because when we are speaking about democracies, if our biggest tool, what we are using always to have a measure of the value of our work, of the value of our properties, or the value of our time, is something that doesn't belong to us, doesn't belong to the government, and we cannot choose at all how it is going to work. Obviously, that means that the democracy, as we are being told that exists, it doesn't. But we can go further. The central banks, it depends of which country. A period, for example, the Federal Reserve in 1912. But above that, we have another banks that are more powerful than the central banks. Those banks were created in Bretton Woods Agreement, that is just before the end of the Second World War, with when all these peace agreements were being ready by all the governments that they already knew that they were the winners of the Second World War. They signed it in Bretton Woods in the United States, an agreement that indicated that there will be two international institutions, not controlled by any government, not controlled by the UN, not controlled by no one else, just state themselves, that they will be the ones giving those permissions to the central banks to do so. It's quite complicated if you go in the legal way that they explain. It's more complicated how they explain their work, but it's quite easy. They give the permit or not. There are two ways that the money comes to the money comes to us, to the biggest banks, is or the IMF or the World Bank give the permit to the central bank to create this money, or they directly give us the money, with interest, of course. This is signed in the Bretton Woods Agreement. But above both, we have another one. This bank was created in 1930. It was, there was in La Haye, in Holland, in 1930 there was an agreement just to define how the money is gonna be created worldwide. Of course, that was it was coming from. The creation of this bank was the result of the agreements, the peace agreements, and this is the moment when appears the International Bank of Payments. The International Bank of Payments is based in Basel, in Switzerland, in the shore of the Rhine River. This bank is the central bank of all the central banks. This bank is the boss, legally speaking, of the Federal Reserve, the Central Bank of China, and the Central Bank of Europe, and the Central Bank of Jordan. They, legally speaking, are the boss of everybody in terms of money. Basel, in Switzerland. You go as well, and it is open to read, they don't hide themselves regarding that. You can see that it's very well defined who can be managing this bank. And it's the Central Bank of Germany, the director of the Central Bank of Germany, the director of the Central Bank of Europe now, of Italy, UK, France, and United States, and I think that I'm not missing anybody, Japan as well. But the rest of the chairs for that table is very quite hard to know how it is decided, who holds this position. One thing that is very funny, and as well if you go to have a look about the history of the central banks, is that it is not totally public, or they pretend that they are not totally public. Because basically if you go to this bank in Switzerland, they say that from 2000, they are not allowed to be to have a participation of private people. So what? A bank that is creating money from nothing, that is giving the permission to all the rest of the money that is created in the world, and it seemed quite important because it was an agreement in the First World War peace agreement and the Second World War. Is a private institution? Just think about that. Then, since 2000, theoretically, this bank doesn't have private money, but as they don't have to respond to any country in the world, and there is not any court, even the international court, that can ask them anything, we cannot know who is participating in such bank. If you go to the history of the other central banks, you can see that the French central bank or the England central bank have the same issue. And if you go as well to the European Central Bank, you will see that it is not possible to know who really is behind that. Just what we can see is that no one can influence to that bank except the banks to them, those banks to themselves. Just please, you have any question, you can ask me later, or you can interrupt at any moment, please.
Let's first sum up and then open.
So what means that what means what we are speaking about, how the central banks and how the money is created? Well, there is a monopoly in the emission and the creation of the money, and where is delivery? That means no one else than them can create money and put them in circulation. And as we have seen in the video, they can create or finish any financial crisis at the moment that they decide. Just if they stop loaning money, but they keep receiving the payments for the interest, just the money is going to start to disappear here. This is what normally in the television they explain to us. This is the cycle of the capitalism. It's just basically just for certain time they loan more money, and for certain time they loan less. That's the quantity of money they are taking. But as well, and this is something that worries me a lot, they can decide where the money goes. if they decide to invest in something that has changed, for example, our way of communication as internet, they put the money there, and the internet is going to grow. If maybe we have another kind of solutions that can solve to make our lives better, but they can decide that the money doesn't go in that way. The other point is that the money is created from nothing. I mean, they have such power, but they are creating because what? Before, the money had like a support. Each bank, even the central bank, can can loan or create certain amount of money according to the goal that they have. But since 1972, there is not any limit about that. And just basically, they create the money from nothing, and they take all our effort and all our properties for nothing. This is a big problem because basically they can play in such a way. They can play in such a way that it's like a scam, and without a scam, without like. I mean, it's the biggest scam that we can do. I'm not selling you anything, but you have to give me everything. Another problem that we have regarding this, and it's important as well, is that it doesn't have a fixed value. We are living in a scientific society. We know that 100 centimeters makes a meter. That a cubic meter can hold 1,000 liters. And if the 1,000 liters are pure water, the weight is going to be 1 ton, 1,000 kgs. This is a system for measuring. Okay, but anyone knows the size of a JD, or a dollar, or a euro? It changes all the time, and we cannot know how it works. We can go maybe further later about what it means. But if we go to the point that we are measuring, again, all our properties, all our effort, and all our time according to something that doesn't have a fixed value, we are losing all the time the concept about what the value of each thing is, really. And the fourth thing is that it is loaded with interest. Basically, if we are two persons, and Fadi and me, we are in an island, and I'm creating, I don't know, glasses. And he needs a glass or 10 glasses. Okay, but I am the only one that can create glasses. I know him 10, but I'm gonna ask him 11. Give me 11 this year. As he doesn't have the capacity to create another glass, he's gonna tell me that's not possible, and he's not gonna accept that. But if you do this in a big group, if I try to do this scam, even we are 25, 30, 35, I don't know. If we try to do this, instead of people thinking that the real value of the debt is bigger, that the quantity of money that we have around, you are not going to stop to think about. You are going to start running and dealing to get the extra that each one needs. Basically, that's what is creating at each time that we are using this money, JDs in your case, or dollars, we are increasing the debt, the global debt of all of us. Maybe someone is successing and is getting the money. But the price that we are getting as the total debt that all of us we have, each time is bigger. Basically, those are the four things and characteristics of the money that currently we are using that is ruling our life. And we are speaking about something that, as I'm saying, is above any legal institution, internationally speaking, and doesn't have to respond to any government. And worst, it is accepted by almost all the governments in the world. When we are speaking about United States, China, Russia, etc., it doesn't matter. All of them accept that. Napoleon has said once, I have read, because I didn't listen to him, that the money the hand that is loaning the money is above the hand that is receiving it. Okay, we have someone that is above of all of us and all the institutions that we know. Well, I don't know if it is
So,
down with this money.
shall we start with the second video?
Well, maybe we can.
And then see if there's some questions. Any questions for now or any comments?
That's what the position of the gold as material for the money. I have read here in everywhere that's speak or speak that the gold.
Go ahead.
The money, the gold, what's the position of the gold and the relation between the gold in the central banks and the money. Also, the international bank in Jordan, in Washington. What's the game of this bank for the economy in the what called the third world and everywhere? Also, the industrial, the agricultural, the factory production for the workers, for the economy, I think lost. In which way lost? And thank you.
To you. Well, currently the gold is used as an asset just for investing or for doing speculation, but doesn't have any relationship any longer, the gold or the silver, as it was working before in the United States, with how much money is being created. Nothing at all. It's like you think about, I don't know, roses or how much houses you have. There is not any relationship. Before it was used as something that fixed the value of the money, but since 35 years, since 45 years, it's not working any longer in that way. The second question is about the, I didn't understand very well, but I think that you were speaking about the Federal Reserve in the United States. The Federal Reserve in the United States is a private bank that cannot be influenced by the government of the United States, despite that we see in the CNN, BBC, and so on, that they nominate who is going to be the chairman or the chairwoman, like today. But it's an independent entity inside of the United States that started as a private bank and is deciding when the money is being created, the dollars in this case, when and how, with which interest, and to whom is going to be delivered. The third question is about it's about the production. There is not at all any relationship between the what's the real creation that our hands are doing, creating cars or cropping tomatoes. With this, there is nothing related with that. Just they create the money in a totally independent way of that. About how we can influence with the production of our work. We cannot have any influence in the money. But as we use only their money to deal with the product of our work, their money has an influence in our work. And how we are, and if we are allowed, we can buy or afford or cropping tomatoes, for example.
I don't need a microphone.
Thanks for the valuable information. So the problem is, in your opinion, I'd like to know, is that interest? I mean, if we have a way to transfer, our wealth and our commodities, sell our commodities for a certain amount of money, is that a bad thing or a good thing if there's no interest? Because the Federal Reserve Bank has been, you know, near zero interest for a while now. So what do you think? Do you think it's not democracy? I mean, I'm missing the point a little bit.
Thank you.
Well, the issue of the interest is something that is decided by them. But what I was describing is that those four circumstances, or characteristics, not only the interest, they can decide if they put an interest or not, or even they can give it with a negative value, the interest. But they are the ones deciding that. And on top of that, we have still the monopoly, the creation from nothing. Okay,
There has to be a way, though. There has to be a way for people to sell and buy.
Alternatives.
Yeah, the alternative exists, and not all. Not all the countries, and we are not so far in the history about different experience about the money. You wanna go, and we're speaking about something that is much more easy to find. You can go to the central bank, well, not the central bank, the currency in in UK before what is called the Glorious Revolution. They were using the thalia sticks. It's a very interesting story. That is money, what was money that didn't have any interest. As well, you can go to from Jackson, the President Jackson in the United States in the 19th century, till 1912. At that moment, there was not a central bank working in the United States as the ones that we are explaining here. So yes, there is ways that each state is creating their own money and taking their decisions. And more or less the war, the most, that's my opinion, but the biggest interest at the end, behind the biggest wars that humanity has so far, is about to impose to such countries to accept these banks. But yeah, there was experience in the history, and there is experience right now. That is something that we can speak, and I'm working on that. So.
سؤال ثاني.
Hi, yeah. Well, I am interested in hearing about the alternatives, actually. What are you working on? I mean, the problem is pretty clear to all of us. And what are other alternatives, even on a small scale, for communities to try to minimize their dependence on such a system? Yeah.
We can talk about it at the end. Any question?
Well, my question is, you said that there's a central bank in Switzerland that gives permission to other central banks to print money, make money, and then with interest, of course, to that central bank in Switzerland. And they give it directly to the people. And it's always more interest than what's the end of the cycle? Like when there's too much money and the interest gets so high that the people can't give back that money to the central banks and then give it back to the central bank of all of them. What's the end of that cycle? Like at the end, what's going to happen if they can't create enough money to give it back to the central banks?
There is not an end. The idea is to keep in a cycle. Because basically, the banks, they don't want you to pay the debt. They want you on debt. This is basically how the system works. So this bank that doesn't want to be paid back, want you on their debt. Because legally speaking, they are, no one can touch them. But legally speaking, your debt is legal. And they can touch you. So then they have the property and they have the power over you, or the country. So it's basically those cycles are when at the moment that they are creating more money than the one that they are being paid back is just breathing and then exhaling. So then when this crisis comes, they can decide to whom they are going to give money so they can save their enterprises or projects. and which are the ones that they are going to lose it. Basically, it's like that. Because at the end, if you are the only one creating the money, what for? You want more money. You can create it at any moment. It's just a tool that could be used for us for making deals, dealing between with the production of our work. But for them, it's a tool of control. It's just basically a tool of control. That doesn't, it's very hard to combat against that tool of control. First of all, no one understands what really is. And second, no one understands who is behind that. And everybody accepts it. Because basically, it's all over us. But they don't want to be paid back. Just they want us having a debt with them.
I am sorry. That's the solution to create a new international bank system to give the people chance. And what's the relation between the economic crisis in Greece and Germany and Spain? And thank you.
It is exactly what we are speaking about. They create a lot of money, they give loans, and then at a certain moment they say, hey, we are not sure if you can pay us. They already know that the amount of that represents the debt is bigger than the money that exists. They already know that we cannot pay the debt. Just they stop giving loans, and at that moment we are like fishes that they start in a glass that we are running out of water, because we cannot deal within us. And at that moment, they are taking the properties. Just basically what they have done with Greece is that they smash them. And what happened with Germany, that has a debt that is much bigger than Greece, is that they keep giving them money. It's basically like that.
No democracy with these banks in the world.
No, no democracy at all. It's a monarchy.
So we'll show this video that explains a part of the idea.
Let's imagine a remote island with... Let's imagine a remote island with 100 human inhabitants. A little hypothetical society decides to use a currency system to engage labor and to organize their resources. So they collect little shells and number them. They figure, we're going to get 1,000 shells in circulation, and each person will be given 10 shells, and they start to exchange. At some point, one of the inhabitants, for whatever reason, finds his or herself in the position where they don't have enough shells to meet their needs. So they think...
Any question about the video? So it's clear. The second point we want to talk about is how does money shape or influence our behaviors? What are the consequences of the financial system?
First of all, the word corruption is a monetary.
With the financial system, it's not possible for people to be ethical. It's not possible for people to be honest. Because in the roots of this system, when we have money, we will not really trust each other because everybody wants more money. Everybody wants to have more property. So all those all the efforts that we put to fight corruption or to fight stealing and all this is not really will not really work because you cannot avoid it. Corruption and the money goes all together. This is basically the idea of the video. Any question or comment?
I have a comment. There's some manufacturers that decide and choose to spend a huge amount of their profits on ensuring.
Can you repeat again?
There are a lot of manufacturers that choose to spend huge portions of their profits on ensuring the quality of their products, and they can avoid that. They can simply just go to a country where rules and regulations don't apply there, and they make a product and make much more profits than they do. So this idea of corruption in industry, to some extent, yeah, I mean, everybody wants profit. If you want to call that corruption, so we're all corrupt. I mean, who doesn't want to make money? But there are conscious manufacturers that spend a ton of money on ensuring that their product is far beyond better than other competitors. It's safe, it's not dangerous, you name it. So I guess it's just a little bit unfair to some of the manufacturers in the world, especially the ones that adopt a lot of social causes, whether it's cancer or heart disease or whatever. Some companies, I mean, Apple is basically deducting an X amount of dollar for a red phone to buy for a cause. So, corrupt, I don't know, not sure.
I want to say 2 points to what you mentioned, just for a discussion. The first point is that, as far as I know, and I don't know about all countries, but I know that in many countries, big corporations, they get tax cuts when they do social responsibility. So it's not because they're not corrupted, it's because they don't want to pay taxes. So this is number one. Not necessarily because they're not corrupted, it's because they don't want to pay taxes. The point number two is also that social responsibility has become a very good marketing tool. So they do spare a lot of their money maybe, and again, they get tax cuts on it to actually promote certain causes and work on certain causes, but the way they promote it and work on it, it just makes them get a lot of money back. So, the system is still there. It's not because they're very necessarily caring for the environment and other people and causes. Just a note.
I repeat the talking. What's the solution? The cultural, the revolution, the religious. What's the solution? This man speak about the whole system the same. What's the solution or no solution? The world go to the more than economy darkens and that's it. Thank you.
في سؤال أو حدا حاب يعلق؟
Well, I think that's the real question. I don't know if we're gonna jump on that. But I think that when we are speaking about this issue of values and ethics and so on, is a good example about what usually happens when we start speaking about money. We are looking for reference, and some people telling us this is a philosophical problem. This is we should come back to the caves or whatever. But just frankly speaking, I'm going to speak from my experience. When we gathered 5 years ago, it was not only from Spain. We were looking for people from the United States, Canada, South America, Asia, looking for solutions. My point of view on my lecture later on was like, first, this is something that we cannot choose. There is not any society above a tribe that can work or exist without money. So this is something that is totally inherent to our societies. Then the question comes, how we can escape from this monetary system. And this is the important point. The money is a tool that represents the value of an agreement. That's all. But it doesn't mean that it's compulsory, that it requires to have an interest, or it requires to have a monopoly about that. So then, we jump to the conclusion, we need to create our currency. There are hundreds of different currencies now existing all over the world. You can go through internet, and there is many ways and philosophies behind. Then about that, one thing that we found is like, unfortunately, there is a system of copycat. As a human beings, we don't like so much the effort. So if someone else is telling us how we should do, we are gonna, and it looks like nice, we are gonna go for that, even without thinking how really it's gonna work. Speaking about those currencies, or the FedHedge project, or another ones, I can focus maybe in the important points that we found that were not okay. First is just to make a system of exchange with this money. From our point of view, if we create our we want to create our currency and we fix the value of with the Jordan dinars or the dollars. By the way, our currency at the end is like when you go to a nightclub and change your dollars for plastic coins, and you pay and you pay with that. It has no sense. Still, there is a monopoly of the creation, and still is influenced by the decisions. The other thing, so we didn't want to have this exchange with them. Second thing, and is the most important and the one that is more hard to believe, despite that is the easiest one. We have to create a money that can be created by anybody. That's the only way that we can finish with the monopoly. From what? They are creating the money from nothing. Okay, we are going to create the money at the moment that this deal is done. Because this is coming back to the roots. The money is the representation of the agreement. So at any moment that there is an agreement, the money is going to be created. Other thing is that we are going to forbid, the interest is not allowed. You can give a loan, but the interest doesn't exist. So we are not going to have the problem that the debt is bigger than the money that is in circulation. And interest monopoly, interest monopoly, creation from nothing. Basically, according to that, what we have done, and I think we jumped already directly to the alternatives, then we designed a bank of time. Sorry, that's why I was forgetting one. We needed to have a fixed value for that currency, because this is the fourth point that we were missing. As not everybody has gold, and the gold was used at a certain moment because it's something that doesn't suffer with the pass of the time, and it's rare, so you cannot copy. As not everybody has gold, because it's already in the same hands of the ones that are creating the money, we need to use another value, fixed value, that is going to help the people to understand the value of the currency at the moment of the payments. And basically, we choose something that everybody has and everybody understands. And everybody has in the same way, that is time. All of us, we have 24 hours per day. And basically, you think, yeah? You do. All of us. That's the,
Sure. In the early writings of Friedrich Engels in criticizing the economy and politics, he said he talked about the corruption of trading and what is caused by this economic system, and the proposed solution was to abolish private property as you can get rid of money, but there will be still private property, but if you abolish private property, everything else will be meaningless. Debts, money, governments. So can these, why is this solution not applicable or not good enough, or can it be combined with other types of currencies?
Well, basically the alternative. Basically, the alternative that we are speaking about and we have created doesn't pretend to achieve that everything is going to be okay. We are speaking about using a fair tool, something just for everybody. We are not speaking that this is the panacea that is going to solve all the problems. Because we are speaking that by using that, we can avoid this monopoly of the power, and we can afford much more things. But we're not speaking about saving the world at all. It could be quite crazy. Second, regarding the property, it happens the same like with the money. There is not any single example in the history that goes above tribes where the private property doesn't exist. So basically, with the existence of money and the existence of the private property, we can desire that it could be in a different way. But it is like, okay, I don't like this wall being here, so I'm going to ignore that it exists. I'm going to keep hitting my head against that. Because basically the alternative is, what are we going to do? 7 billion people, we are going to work on tribes and try to act like the Yanomamis in the Orinoco River? It's not realistic right now, basically. I mean, philosophically speaking, we could dream about a different society, but we don't have any example. So, in going, another question, maybe? This microphone is like very, very high. So speaking about the alternatives, and according to those 4 points, that not monopoly, fixed value, no interest, and I'm always forgetting the fourth one. This is going to be very fun.
Fluctuation.
Another fluctuation. Well, the fixed value. We created this currency. I'm from Madrid, but I'm not living in Madrid. I'm living in a valley that is, Spain is 1.5 hours to the west of Madrid. That is like in the last 15 years has received a lot of migration from the cities and have many different, we can call it alternative projects or so on. It's not a commune, okay, at all. We don't pretend to work in that way. It's just a gathering because it's cheaper and it gives us many options. I'm going a way that is not interesting for this topic. Sorry. So we created this currency there according that. What we have done is just to design that a way that anybody can pay and anybody can look for, or anybody can do an advertisement through a website about what is being offered, and the way to contact this person, and about services, goods, renting, or classes. Those are the four things that we work about that. Once these people is contacting, they can discuss about the value of the work and how it's gonna be paid. For us as well, and it's very important, it is not fixed the value of the time. I mean, there are many other projects that work with the idea of the bank of time that pretends that each hour has the same value that any other hour. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. I can give a Spanish lesson to 35 people, and it requires more time or whatever, but it doesn't have the same effort as someone maybe that is going with one dog for an old woman that cannot go to the street. And as we know that the value of each work doesn't have the same value,
we are not going to jump on the decision of how it has to be measured. We give, and this is the tool, the freedom to each one to decide how much is gonna be paid for that. And by that, what we do is like, is the responsibility of each one. At this point, it's freedom, and we can call it, by the way, free market.
Without money.
No, it's with money.
In the history, the old societies without money, give and get.
This is the truth. That the problem is that I can change 12 eggs for 1 kg of tomatoes with you, but what happens if I want to buy a horse? Okay, I'm gonna even if I agree that I'm gonna give him 3,000 kilos of tomatoes, what the hell is he gonna do with 3,000 kilos of tomatoes? He needs to spend the time to exchange the tomatoes for other things, or he cannot keep it because it's gonna rot. So, according to that, once coming back to how the system works, what we have done is just they sign a paper. Because basically, if you go through your pocket, you're gonna, I don't know who is signing the JD's paper, but by the way, the money that we are using is a printed paper, signed by someone. What we have done is like, at the moment of the creation of that money, we indicate in a paper the value and who is giving certain amount of time to the other one, and it's signed by both. Now currently what we have is we have like mailbox in different bars, locals, cafes, shops, and so on, and the people is putting the papers there, and a team of admins is collecting once per week. And we, in each village, what we have is a different office, and then the admins verify that the signals are okay, and it goes to the system. And this is how it works and how we are paying. Currently, as how it goes, we are in the 6th year. What we see at the end, in the right, is the first 3 months of 2017. Despite that we are being like 215 people, as you can see, the most of the people that is theoretically inside of the system that we have created is not using it. Now it is increasing very slowly. So we are not getting so much. We are speaking about only 215 people using this in 3 different villages, but the most that we managed to have was, sorry, it's in Spanish, the blue column, sorry, are the sellers, and the red one are the buyers. So as you see, we even don't reach the figures of 100 people using this during the year. But those are individual users. But then we can go to the evolution. At the beginning, it's very nice to start to speak, oh, we have to find alternatives, and that's going to be very nice. I want to work on that way. But at the end, for everybody, it's just an invest. You have to invest your time and your effort for a new currency that you don't really understand very well. And okay, it's very cool, but we don't use it. And we have keep trying to do so. The most of the alternative currencies, they lose after 1 year. They face this problem and they forget about that. We designed a way of not overburning all the admins. The admins are being paid in time through a tax that we are having. So at the end, all the people that is working for the project is receiving a certain amount of money at this correct time. And like that, I'm not putting so much pressure on that, understanding that that is a very hard concept for everybody. We keep trying. And now you can see what's the evolution of the last months. Now we are quite happy about how is it working. Because basically, right now, as you can see, in the last 6 months, we have done like 45 times more than in the previous 4 years. If we go to the measures, and we must do it. And again, here in the right side, what you see is January, February, and March of 2017. Now we are starting to roll. Now, with the people is starting to use frequently, on monthly basis those payments. I'm speaking about maybe 17 hours because you are taking care of that, 17 hours because or 20 hours because you are helping me with this database, or I am buying weekly a basket of vegetables to you, whatever. And now is when we are rocking. This, we hope that that's going to keep growing during the rest of the year, and with the different initiatives. Now, finally, the small authorities of each village they're understanding the power of this, because basically that means that we are creating our money. We are putting the capacity of the people to deal independently of the banks. They're starting to understand this. Now, for this year, we are going to have 4 street markets, and we are going to have a festival only with this currency. So we think that we are going to continue increasing. I would love to tell you, okay, since 5 years we're working on that, and it's going great, and we are 2,000 people just almost not using euros. Okay, no. This is so far what we have managed to do. If we go about what are the expectations that we have for 2017, it's okay. It's quite okay. But despite, we have to think about how many hours we're speaking about. It's 1,800 hours this year. Seriously speaking, just to help you to understand, it's just basically how much is the same number of hours that one person is working per year. So it is not so much. This is one of the limitations that we have. We know how hard it was to reach this point. And now that we feel that we are rocking, we are speaking about the product of one person just working all the year for that. It is not so much. So we have done another goal. We fixed our goal about how many hours we want. Sorry, the red column, I didn't say, are the hours that are being exchanged. And the blue ones are in how many payments. So we see that if we keep with this evolution, in 2 years, we are going to have something important. Then we are going to speak about 100 people working during 1 year only for that, as a result of the product of the work, in terms of money. That means something. But still, it doesn't mean so much. It's not a big quantity, and it is not an alternative. It's an alternative, maybe local, that we can do something that complements. It's helping us to develop our economy. But still, we know that is not going to be enough. But basically, and I sad to say so, what I'm showing to you right now, and not having any relationship with banks or with different authorities, or not having a fixed exchange, with that, this is the third best alternative currency that you can find. You can find in Europe.
Without banks.
Yeah, without banks, being as our current bank.
In Jordan, the system, the Jordanian system, get money from the people as taxes, and from the banks, the local banks, and from outside.
And from the people.
And
okay.
from the people. And the most now also speak about that the percent of the poor people, it's not so much, but the most of people, unemployers and poor people, from this policy, bank policy, and the relation with the international bank in Washington.
Germán, can you give an example? Can you give an example of how this works? Like, if I want to sell you something, how exactly it can be done?
Well, basically, the example is like, try to imagine that you want to sell me something in JDs. If you want to sell me something, just you approach me and you say me, hey, I have this, and it's only 10 JDs. And maybe I'm interested, maybe not.
What are you interested in?
Yeah?
What are you interested
Well, for example, what I'm doing here, I'm working here for 6 months. Now, what I'm doing through this system, for example, I'm paying a gardener that went to my home twice. So my garden is gonna be okay once I'm back. What else I purchased? I purchased a teacup Japanese system that someone posted in our WhatsApps or our Facebook. We have as well WhatsApps and Facebook groups about that, and so it's quite okay. I negotiated the price, and I bought it with the signature, scanning and sending, and it's at my home once I'm back. Or once I'm back, it comes a very good moment for the gardens and the cropping one, so I'm gonna have a basket every week fresh at my home being paid with time. Or for other reasons, I needed, as you see, my English is not so good, so for translating serious documents, I have paid a big amount of time just to someone, a professional translator that is offering the service in the bank of time to translate this. So, and then I can send the documents sure that it's in the perfect right English. I can do it as well in other languages. Or once I'm back at home, I pay my French lessons in time.
So that's how you pay for the services you've received?
That's what I have done,
with
even
translation
even being here.
Okay.
Food, services, classes.
And what do you offer? Like, what is your time offer? Like, this is what people offer you? And
It's quite easy. I rent my home.
Ah, okay.
That's the point. Well, you're speaking of something that's very important. You're speaking about taxes. Okay, here the taxes doesn't exist. Yes, because no one is gonna. The government cannot come to us to ask for us.
So you mentioned earlier that you didn't say, like you said, that there's time that's more valuable than other times. Like, for example, you renting your home is not as much of a good time as someone giving you their full time doing a French lesson, for example. So doesn't that bring us back to the people who have the most necessary skills to having like more valuable time, and them taking advantage of that point, like I can do something that no one else can do, so basically they take much more hours from other people because they're the only people that can do. What's the solution for that problem, since they take advantage of that point?
So monopoly again.
Exactly.
Then we come back to two concepts. One is, first, this idea doesn't pretend or doesn't dream to solve the world.
Yeah.
Okay? Still, just what we want is just a fair economy. Okay, we don't want to. We don't think that through that we are going to solve all the problems of the humanity. Yeah. The second thing is a concept that in certain circles, as those ones of the economy, that as most of them, they are very influenced for certain philosophies, is that what we are offering is a real free market. Okay? The issue regarding that is that as you don't have a debt, as you don't have an interest, and you can be under zero and still moving, and then we can go further about which are the limits that we have fixed for that. If someone is accumulating a lot of hours, it's not a problem at all. It's good. That means that this person has given so much to the community that if you have a comparison, it's much less. So someone that has a lot is the opposite than here. You see, this person is not robbing. If I have 200 hours or 400 hours in my account, that means that I give it 400 hours to the community. So we don't have a problem with that. That's why we don't have a limitation on the number of hours that you can accumulate. We have a limitation about how many, what's the maximum of hours that you can go down there, let's say. That is decided by annual assembly that we do.
على هذا الموضوع لا بس راح نضل بهذا الموضوع.
لا أنا كنت بس بدي أحكي about the relation between the religious and the Jewish, the Engulfware in Vatican. That's also with the bank.
Well, basically, this is not something that that is related with a specific religion. That's basically something that everybody was fighting for since the beginning of the history. If you go to the first rebellion that we can see in the history, is in Mesopotamia, and is the working people, let's say, asking for breaking the tables. What was in the tables at the beginning? Just the result of the cropping, and which was the amount of each excellent. But at the end, someone realized that having the monopoly of the currency, they could control everything. So the first rebellion was just to break the tables where that debt was brought.
Okay. So the amount of hours that are exchanged is actually more than the amount of hours that are paid. So
it's physically impossible. It's physically impossible. If I do an agreement with you, but I pay you, I don't know, 10 hours for a bicycle, you have plus 10 and I have minus 10.
Okay.
So it's not possible. It's not possible that the amount of hours, the sum of everybody is 0.
So, but let's say someone is buying more commodities or more property. He's in debt with more hours and more work that he has to do. So this actually will lead to a similar form of slavery. For example, you owe too much time for someone else or for many people that you have to work most of your days, most of your life in order to pay that debt.
Good point. Good point. This is one of the first things that everybody thinks about that. But we have to face the problem. The problem is that basically, first we have to limit it in a certain way. How you can get in debt and how quick you can do so. This is what we agree once per year. That currently is 20 hours per month, specific communication, or 50 hours in total. Once you have 50 hours in total as debt, the system doesn't allow you to continue. So far, it didn't happen yet, and this is the 5th year. And second, there is not any police going behind you telling, hey, you have to pay that, and there is not the interest. You don't have any kind of punishment behind you to force you to pay. And the important point regarding this is like, who cares? What we have is not an asset. What we have is a tool. So basically, you are at the moment that as soon as the tool is moving between us, there is trade between us, and the society works. So we don't have any problem with someone being in debt. This person can be in debt with 48 hours per 3 years, and nothing is going to happen, and no one of us is going to suffer because he's not giving back this effort. Basically, because and we are speaking about a very small number of people. We are not suffering that at all.
Another question. Can you exchange hours? Can you exchange hours in debt? It's, for example, if I have a debt, a certain amount of hours that I have to pay to you, can I buy them from someone else? For example, a family member or a relative or a friend. So
another person can pay your debt. Yeah. Well, you can ask for that, but you are not in a hurry. No one is going behind you. You can stay there. Even you can be -20 and you can still dealing and still purchasing. See, for whatever reason you want to finish with this debt, yes, you can ask to someone else.
at the end, and how it is going to be solved. That is not a problem for everybody. You can. It's like if you are selling tomatoes, or someone is giving to you a gift.
Can you inherit hours?
Sorry. Well, if we're speaking about food, I'm doing it once per week. Very good food, indeed.
No, if, for example, if your father passed away, and he has a lot of hours, can you inherit these hours?
Well, okay, I didn't understand. I didn't understand the beginning. Well, it's such an interesting question that we didn't reach. No. But I'm gonna take note of that. No, but we are not doing so now. At the level that we are speaking about, just is that if we are gonna accept legal entities as a cooperative or a company, those are more or less the places where we are focused right now to work with. That is a legal and philosophical nightmare, believe me, about that. But no, but we are gonna think about that now. Thanks for giving to me homework.
Especially here in Jordan. That is forever.
Just in case someone dies.
I know, and just in case someone dies, but a lot of us depend on that, right? Inheritance at the end of the day. But that means that everyone should take part in the society and take part in working to earn those hours rather than wait for someone else to pass it on.
Why are you thinking to work with companies or legal entities? Because, you know, company, it runs on this money thing. Is it to just spread the system, or what makes you think about it?
Because again, what we want is just to adapt a fair system to the society. We don't want to change how the human being is dealing, because basically we associate, we work together, we create different enterprise, legally or not, to do something. So for something like, for example, like Jadal, if it starts to use a system like that, Jadal could pay for services to different people. And what are we going to do? It's going to be just the payment on the pocket of Fadi or Jews. It's not fair that we have to defend that. The problem comes that what's the limit of the for a debt or the cost or whatever if we are not speaking with only one person. Those are the problems. And well, going in such details are very interesting, but frankly speaking, we go already to a point that is complicated. It's going to be complicated to explain here in a short time.
For the sake of argument, let's say I'm interested in what you're saying, and I want to participate. So what do? I want to give you 5 hours. How does this work? I want to get to the bottom of it, you know?
Wow.
Can you tell me?
Well, first, thanks.
I just said if.
Yeah, don't worry.
That's a big if.
Well, basically, to participate with the project, what you can do is just that to offer your work. For example, now for developing we are developing the new website. There, if you are a programmer, it could help us. If you are good as a community manager, I'm thinking about things that can be done through internet because being in Jordan and we are speaking about a local system. Unfortunately, it's still local, but you can help in such way, or translating, or maybe just we can do a copycat of this system and bring it to Jordan. There are many ways. There's as much ways as you can imagine about how we can develop something like that. But
well, that's very important. In order for us to work for you, we have to be able to tell the people that if you want to participate, you can do so in this manner. And here are all the ways that you can help.
Well, basically, I'm very glad that you are saying so.
Again, it's a big if.
Yeah, no, it's a big if, but we are speaking about our life, so we can we can do a big if. Well, then I think I'm gonna jump to the next step. That I was not sure.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to rush you. I'm just
No. I'm glad. I'm glad,
here.
and just only the matter that so many people is remaining here listening about something that money that normally bores everybody encouraged me to go a bit further regarding this. As you can see in this frame, even if we grow a lot, that's not going to have a big impact. So since 2 years, we are a team of people that we are working to develop the same project under the same rules, but through something that can be reachable by everybody and facilitate not only in a local way. So just basically we are working on that, and we are working with a beta system in order to be able to pay through our mobile phones. And we are starting to test this mainly in Spanish, but as well we have it in English. So it's something that if someone here is interested, I can take your emails and I can throw you the link and you can open it. Frankly speaking, the problem that we are facing here, it is not something like, wow, it's going to jump like unicorn that everybody's going to use, because what we are sure is that we are going to face the same problems that we have faced doing in the local way. Everybody is asking twice per day, like, why the hell this really matters, and how really it's going to help me, and how I'm going to receive, or I'm going to be paying back, or what if I cannot later use it. And if I can do a forecast, even with all the effort that we're going to do, it's going to take at least 1 year for us to phagotize the other projects that are similar. Because in order to use this, we have seen that in the request that the people that use it needs 2 things. First, an interest on that, and second, a need. It doesn't need a small need, just to.
They have to have time.
Sorry?
They have to have time.
And to have time. Yeah, but that's basically time is money and money is time. We are not paying with time. We are paying with the time that cost us to gain that money, basically. So it's just how much effort you want to invest on that. It's the idea that you like it. Well, go ahead, feel free. Just pass me the contents. And I indeed I have the web page here, but still as it's beta, and I just prefer maybe if you give me the. Let's go to. Yeah, they have it in English already. So, well, this is the system that we have online. This is the English version. And right now what we are testing is like, it's just a system, just you can figure out. It's like if you have like a kind of Airbnb, because you have to make a ratio of 5 stars, 4 stars for the products or for the services or for the people as well. And as well, a kind of e-buy. Here you have all the explanation that you can find, theoretically speaking, about how it works. As well, you have to understand that it's quite complicated to, once we reach this point, to explain exactly how it works and how we have to move in order to avoid, for example, like Google is not having control of our database and these kind of things. That this is a real nightmare. This is even worse than any other. And well, just go inside and play with it. You can open your account here, and you can look for. Indeed, I think that there is already someone from Jordan that is working here. But we are starting. Yeah, we have someone from Jordan. So here you have in the map who is advertising something, or you can look as well for the demands. Well, I invite you to play with that, but this is something that still we are developing, and it's not so easy to make an application that can be understood by everybody in an easy way. It's a big exercise to design it. Especially we have to pay, we have to do the advertisements, you have to do the ratio of everybody, and on top of that, as we are so freak, we don't want Google to have the hands on it. And this is another nightmare in terms of work, because basically internet as well. Sorry to say so, but it's a monopoly.
Well, that would be a good client company to recruit. You know, a company that does apps.
It is not working as a company, it's working as an association.
No, I mean a company that makes apps or an application that you want. It's a good idea to recruit one of those companies to give you services for time.
Yeah, we strongly believe that that's going to work in that way.
Sure.
So I don't know if the question about alternatives has been responded. But this is going to something that is working already, not something about could work in the future. This is the one that we have in the local one, and as you can see, you can go. This one is only in Spanish, but you can find here we have like 500 different offers. If you go down. So basically from food and renting and classes, you can find whatever. And seriously, I encourage you, whatever you are interested to collaborate in the project or whatever you think, just to look for these kind of projects. Because basically the economy is not suffering. They are telling us about this blockchain system is gonna change how we pay the things. But basically, if we still keep the same guys deciding about how the money works, we are not going to escape. Yes, we are going to be slaves of our debts, and it's not going to matter if it's going to be with a printed paper or, as it is right now, with figures in a computer screen.
I believe that to educate the citizen and the new education for the community and the citizen. Economy, education for the people, for the citizen. How to educate the citizen to get to make relation with the style of the economy style in the lab, the consumption, the production, the relation with the system, with the bank.
I don't think that it's a matter of education, because, for example, it's a matter of about how useful for the people is. I mean, the most of us, we don't have clue about how electricity works, but we switch on or switch off the electricity and we work with that. So basically, I believe that it's the same for this. I don't expect that the people understanding how the money works. Just what I would love is just like maybe 5% or whatever. Okay, that's why I bet for this project. It's okay, I do agree. But the other 95% is just going to be using it because they find it useful. I mean, that's how the education works, really.
I mean, on a really big scale, like let's say this, you take this spot and this works and you can pay with time and that happens. Like you said earlier that there's no police chasing you to pay your hours. It doesn't make sense to me. How would you control all these people and what they have to pay? Like you owe that much time, you owe that much time. How would you control that on a really big scale?
In the same way, we fix which are the limits of the debt.